What's up, everyone? Just want to give you a heads up about this episode. I was on the road and recording with my AirPods, so my audio quality is not the best this episode. Good news for you is my dad does most of the talking this episode, so have a great time. Enjoy some football news. And with that, let's get into the episode.
It's time to get some SportSense. You're gonna get some SportSense. You better get ready for SportSense. SportSense.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to SportSense. This is the show for sports noobs or people who just don't care to keep up with the endless sports content that seems to come at us every day. I am, as usual, your host or co-host, Cooper Epps, and I'm here with my dad, James Epps. Hey, Dad, how's it going?
Hey, Coop. Good. We got some fun stuff to talk about for a little bit tonight.
Oh yeah, I mean, we recorded this a day late just because of
That-
one of the biggest games of the year yesterday.
The biggest college football game. That's right.
Heck yeah. Thanks for bearing with my sound quality this episode, everybody. But hopefully, we'll just be able to put you on a pedestal, Dad, and listen to you go to town on that microphone you got there.
Well, I'm going to go to town with or without a microphone. So
Awesome. Well, let's see. I guess I ought to have checked with Mikey before we recorded this episode and seen how his girlfriend's dad was feeling after the game last night. But getting ahead of myself. First of all, do you have anything to open us up with, Dad,
well,
before we get into football?
no, not really. It's getting ready to be sad. It's my first phase of sad days. The college football season's over, and
Oh,
I mean that just I love football. It feels like we just started. I mean, late August. Oh,
yeah.
I just can't believe it. It grew to. I grew up now loving college basketball. That was absolutely my favorite. ACC basketball. I mean, right here in Raleigh, North Carolina, you had
Of
Duke,
course.
Carolina, and my favorite team at the time, NC State, still is, and BYU. But so I grew up just living and dying. I mean, every before you had March Madness, you had the ACC basketball tournament, and when you go to school from literally from middle school, at least junior high, they called it in high school, we had teachers that would always pull the TV in, and the games would start on Thursday, and they would have those games going on in the classroom. Not all teachers. We had some anti-sports teachers. I won't name names, but I remember a couple of them. But we had some teachers that were so cool, and they would play the games as long as we behave, and so I loved it. And I
Wow.
still love college basketball. It's kind of gotten a little different over the last few years. And the ACC is different. They don't have the same core teams. But anyway, I
So
digress. So,
yeah, I
so
was
I,
gonna
I
say.
got to
So
get
are you
excited.
trying to say that football has now become your more
Absolutely.
preferred
Yeah.
season? Okay.
Not even close. I love everything from high school football, college football, and then pro football, NFL football. So
Yeah.
it's
Do
my
you
favorite.
keep up with
But
Do
I
you keep
gotta
up with
tell.
high school football?
Oh yeah,
High
I mean,
school
I still
football?
wait for. Yeah. I don't go as much, obviously, but still like to go catch a game or two at our local team, Wake Forest. But we always definitely Keaton and I, particularly your brother and a couple others of us, still look and see who won, who beat who made the playoffs, who won the
Wow.
state championship. So yeah, I love high school football still when you
I,
get a chance to go, especially when you take the
I
grandsons.
Yeah, and I guess when you're involved with so much family stuff still, it's good to know what's going on in the local sports scene.
Absolutely. So anyway, I'm getting geared up because we're going to soon be completely out of football after a little bit longer of the pro and the NFL. And then we got to start talking about basketball for a good little while. I'm not big on the NBA, but we'll talk about it a little bit. But definitely college basketball, and then baseball start, and then we'll have fun, and then we'll just be counting down the days till football starts again. So that's kind of how the cycle goes. We'll
All
we'll
right.
sprinkle in a little bit of hockey. Hopefully, the Canes will be a playoff quality team this year, so we'll sprinkle in a little hockey.
So, I actually have a little bit of an update for you there.
Give it to
I
me.
can't believe I was just so off my game last week when you asked me about their roster, but I don't know. I guess I never realized it, but Freddie Anderson is like our top goalie for the
Yes.
Hurricanes. And hey, I didn't realize this, but I thought he got traded away or something because he was gone for so long. But I guess he had some sort of really big injury towards the beginning of the season. at least a few months ago, and has just been gone for months and months. So he just stepped back on the ice, I believe 3 days ago, 4 days ago. So
Oh wow, good.
he's back, and actually, it's kind of funny. Uh, my sister-in-law texted me today, Courtney, saying, "Hey Cooper, just seeing if you have any advice. I'm trying to get her hockey tickets for all the boys to take them out sometime soon, and I'm just wondering, how do you find reasonable price tickets because they're all outrageous right now?" And and I just said, I said, it could be just because this goalie's back, and the Canes have been pretty hot anyway. So
Yeah,
I
they
didn't know
play
what
in
to
front of
say
a
except,
sellout. Yeah, they play in front of the sellout crowd basically every game. So
yeah, and they've
yeah,
been so good the past few years. Yeah,
right,
everybody wants to go, and so
right.
that's just how it is when the team's good. Tickets are high, so she cracked me up with that. I was just like, it
Yeah,
just fluctuates. It's just supply and demand.
yeah.
Um,
Got to
but
work at
I
it.
felt bad for her. I guess I'll just have to tell her to wait till Freddie Anderson gets injured again.
Uh, let's hope
But
not. Let's hope he gets better and better and stronger.
yeah,
Because we
even
needed.
with
That's the
him,
one thing that was lacking. We were definitely inconsistent.
exactly, and even with him gone, the Hurricanes are in. I think they're number three in their division right now.
Yeah,
They're
they're
still
still
great.
they're 10
So
games above 500 or 11 games above 500. So that's
yeah,
good, but not near as hot as they started, and not as good as they can be. They still have a loaded
yes,
roster.
and for Utahns that are listening to this, I looked the other day. The Utah Hockey Club is like, I think they're ranked number 19 or 20 in the league out of 32 teams or whatever. So they're not. They're kind of middle of the pack. And I think they literally are split 50-50 between wins and losses right now. So
Yeah. Well, I saw there's
they're
an
doing
article
okay.
on Deseret News. I briefly looked at it. Apparently, they've been a little bit on a skid or struggling because, yeah, they were saying what can they. The sports writer was asking the question, what needs to be done to fix the Utah Hockey Club? So I don't know what that
Yeah.
was his lead-in question. So I don't know. Things must not have
I
been going
mean,
right. I think, by the
Arizona
way, that when
wasn't.
you went to the one game where I think the Canes was just being kind and they were welcoming Utah Hockey Club to the league.
Yeah, they
But,
gave him a gift, that's for sure.
but we aren't going to expect that anytime if we ever play them again.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally the same team as they were in Arizona last year, basically player for player, and they weren't great then. So,
Right.
anyways, it'll take some time to build them up. But, and hopefully by the time they get a new brand and all that stuff, hopefully they'll be looking good. So,
Yeah. It's
I'm
pretty
just happy
cool.
to have an NHL team here. I actually ran into a Pittsburgh Penguins fan in the elevator today, and he was saying that the Penguins are going to be here in just a few days, and he's taking his family to go see them. So
That's
a lot
awesome.
of a lot of hockey fans have been in Utah. It seems like just rooting for other teams. So
Well, I think
it's
the
great to
schools,
yeah.
universities there, they obviously attract people from all over the country, right? And so some of them definitely going to bring their hockey fandom with them.
That's true. That's true. Well, sorry to get off on hockey so long, but talk to me about let's get into the college football playoff championship right
Right.
from yesterday. The
Yes.
CFP championship game.
Absolutely. It was last night. And you and I were talking about maybe doing something at the end, at the end of the game together. It was late, but it was so late here. And the boys came over, the grandsons, everybody stayed through the first half. But around here, time you start the second half, it's about 10 till 10 p.m. So about 10 o'clock, it gets to be late. So the
Oof.
kids had to
Oh,
go to school today. So they took them home a little after 9:15 or so. But anyway, yeah,
yeah.
let's talk about it now. Uh, I, for those that don't really care, but they do need to pay attention, it's like today. If you were in my area, and this area is not, I mean, we're in North Carolina for heaven's sakes, but I did get out yesterday and today, just a little bit today. Even the parking lot in front of my office, I saw all sorts of Ohio State University sweatshirts on. I mean, they had them out and
Wow.
proudly wearing them. Even in our area, there's a lot of Ohio State fans in this area. But anyway,
Wow. I didn't
so
realize there were actually that many just living in
oh,
North Carolina.
that's because we got all these people that transplanted here from the north and from the Midwest. They all come to our area. So yeah, you got a
That's
lot of
funny.
folks from Ohio, that's for sure, or who
Well,
still love Ohio State.
let's clarify just for people who forgot this matchup. They made it through the whole season, the whole 12 team college football playoff. The matchup was Ohio State versus Notre Dame.
Correct.
Which did you ever find out if that matchup had ever happened in the championship game before?
They have. I'm no. I'm 99% sure those two haven't matched up at the championship game.
Okay.
Almost,
Well,
almost guarantee that. But yeah. So that's
so historic. That's pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely, and really how both teams got there. Remember I told you before Notre Dame lost the very first game or second game of the season. Then
Uh,
Ohio State, remember they lost to Michigan at home on that terrible loss, and I didn't
yeah,
think
their
they were going to.
rival.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to recover from that. The difference is they galvanized. Apparently, there was a players only meeting with just the head coach, and they got it. They rallied the troops for sure, and circled the wagons as they say, and they had been on fire ever since then, and they just rolled basically through the championship, through the tournament. But they
Wow.
last night, the reason I wasn't so excited about you and I talking about doing something at the end, and maybe, I talked about the game as we were watching them play, is so let me start with this. Notre Dame, if you look player for player and physical size against physical size, for example, the defensive line of Notre Dame versus the Ohio State's offensive line, there's no comparison. This is going to sound large to you, but one of the defensive linemen for Notre Dame was only 283 pounds. Trust me, that's light. That's light
Okay.
in the big time college football. And
For linemen, yeah.
so he was, so to me, physically, they were outclassed, but Notre Dame has definitely had a way of pulling off victory after victory, and they came in hot and done well. But what I loved is so Notre Dame started the game. They got the ball first, and this is way too much in the weeds, but for our group here, I think it's worth listening to. Their
All
first
right.
drive, I mean, they received the ball, they drove, and it took 18 plays. In about 3/4 of the first quarter, they controlled the clock. 18 plays to go
Whoa.
down the field, and the quarterback he ran for eight. Riley Leonard ran for 8 of those plays, and by the time they, believe it or not, they drove all the way down in Ohio State and scored a touchdown. They're up 7-0, but Riley Leonard, the quarterback, literally, I think, gave everything he had in that first drive. He was gassed. I mean, he got
Oh, I
nailed
see.
hard. So he was just, I mean, he really was winded and out. And they gave so much effort. And in other words, 18 plays. I can't even tell you. I mean, that's just chipping away, first down, first down, first down. And it looked so hard, and every yard looked so difficult, but they kept fighting and they kept getting it. So they
Yeah.
score up. And then basically this is what happens for the rest of the game through the end of the third quarter. This is why I told you at one point. I said, this is a blowout. Ohio State just ended up, and they looked so smooth and easy, running up and down the field, throwing the ball up and down the field, and they got up 31-7. So they scored 31 unanswered points.
Oh.
So
Whoa.
that's when I was telling you that I'm saying, man, it's not worth it. I mean, I'll keep my eye on it, but I don't, there's nothing for us to talk about at
Yeah.
the end. Then Notre Dame, which I respect, they flat, in fact, I guess it was the first time in history of the national championship game that a team started off with their very first 3 possessions or drives, right? That's Ohio State. As soon as they got the ball after Notre Dame scored, they scored 3 touchdowns in a row
Okay.
without anybody. That's a big deal. So that's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they were getting up. So I thought it was going to just be an absolute laugher, but Notre Dame made a comeback. And here's the classic. You and I have talked about this. The one thing I want to make sure, I didn't know if you heard last night or not. But right, we've talked about the sports commentator, the one calling the games, Jinx, right? The famous Jinx, like they'll say, yeah, this kicker hasn't missed all year, and then his next kick,
Oh.
he shanks it or hits doinks it off.
I
Right? We've talked about that, right?
don't know if we have. I mean, maybe off the podcast, but
I thought, well,
yeah,
I thought we had. I thought we talked about
I
it. Well,
didn't
let me tell
know.
you,
But that's a
it,
stereotypical commentator thing.
yeah, it's thinking real, man. As soon as you'll hear an announcer go, "Oh yeah, hey, from this way in, he's hit 100% of those field goals from 30 yards in," and sure enough, the very next field goal, he'll go and shank it. Well, Ohio State apparently only put the ball on the ground, only fumbled and lost possession of the ball 5 times throughout the entire year. And so
Wow.
Kirk Herbstreit, who is my favorite announcer, he literally towards the end of the third quarter or beginning of the fourth quarter, it looked like Ohio State was going to go up like 38 to 7. They were on the move, on the march. They were making a big play downfield, like a 40-yard play, and the guy was running all over the creation. And Herb Street, right before they had snapped that play, he said that. He goes, yeah, they don't put the ball on the ground. They don't fumble. They never fumble. They don't. I mean, he just must have said it like 3 different ways. And so they snap the ball, make the big play. He gains 40 yards. And then a Notre Dame guy comes from behind and punches it free. And Notre Dame recovers. And then you hear Herb Street
Wow.
laughing. He goes, dang, I knew I shouldn't have said that. I mean, can you believe? And I said,
It's
there
like,
it is.
yeah, it's like Beetlejuice. You can't say it 3 times or else
Right. The
you're cursed. Yeah.
broadcaster's jinx. I mean, it happened. I couldn't believe it
Wow.
happened. And that right there turned the game around for a while and gave Notre Dame a chance. Notre Dame cut it. They cut it to, don't look at the, can't
But yeah,
remember.
I
Remember?
texted you. Yeah, I texted you with a
Yeah.
few minutes left because I was like, shoot, we might need to get on if they tie it up and put it into
Well,
overtime.
and you remember, this is when and then I was thinking about it. And then Notre Dame had driven down there and they tried to kick a field goal. They couldn't get a touchdown. So they tried to kick a field goal, would brought them to 8 points or whatever it was. And he hit it off
Yeah.
the dang goalpost and missed it.
Oh,
So that kind of deflated them and they didn't quite pull it off. So Notre Dame ended up losing. So
uh,
Ohio State won 34-23 by 11 points. See, if he'd made that field goal, they would have been down by 8 points, which is a touchdown plus a 2-point
right.
conversion. They could have tied it. But anyway, I was proud of Notre Dame in the end that they didn't give up, right? They were getting trucked. Railroad, they were just being run all over the place. And they bounced back enough with a lot of pride, but they still lost. In Ohio State, they're the national champions.
Well, yeah, I mean, respect. It's always cool. I mean, it's never fun to watch a game where one team just tramples the other anyway, but also just like you said, it's always been sad to me about sports. I think why I've had a hard time with sports, it, it's sad to me that there has to be a loser. Like, and it's a double-edged sword. It's also great because when you win, it's like, wow, we did something hard. We beat talented people or whatever.
Right.
But it's also you got the other side of the coin where it's sad when anybody has to lose. I've always
Yeah.
liked more collaborative efforts in life where everybody can feel satisfied together. There's not necessarily a winner and loser, but
So you're a socialist.
yeah, exactly. No,
I'm
I
just
knew
kidding.
something. I knew you'd throw something at me, but
No,
I
I
guess what I'm
understand.
saying is that it's nice when even when there's a loser, you can still play for some pride. You can still show that fight and
Yes.
that spirit and heart of coming back from such a difficult position
Right.
like
And I,
Notre Dame
I
had
think
last night.
I think you would really respect it and love and I can't get into this because it's too long, but if you ought to go back and look at the initial press conference with Riley Leonard, the quarterback of Notre Dame, after the game. Now, if you haven't heard about him, he's extremely open and he's like one of the greatest missionaries for Christ ever. I mean, going to Notre Dame was the
Okay,
perfect place for him because he is, but it's just really fascinating because they basically Ohio State, believe it or not, and their culture and their team and a lot of their players, and of course Notre Dame, they have both been considered like the two most. And this sounds crazy, I know, two most Christian teams out there. They just have a lot of uh,
really,
Christian,
Ohio State.
yeah, believe it or not,
Okay,
this group, they have a lot of
okay,
groups and fellowship of Christian athletes and prayers and anyway, pretty
interesting.
fascinating. But he really devotes his life to Christ and he gives a great witness of that. And he said, even in my lowest of lows, he said, I feel the joy of having done my very best. And anyway, so, but,
Wow.
but that's why when someone is on top, and believe me, a lot of the ones, Ohio State, it's been over 10 years, I think, since they've won the national championship. There's a lot of them who they've lost in the past, right? And so it's their sweet moment. And some might not ever get it, but at least they got there. But anyway, so I want to move on from
Yeah.
that. I don't want to keep you all night on that, but it was great. I don't think at first I was afraid it was going to be a real, like, oh, this is a real flop. Um,
Yeah.
by the way, it's crazy how Vegas most times, that's why they built $1 billion city there. They're right on their gambling, right? They were
Mm,
Ohio State was a 10-point favorite and they won by 11. So
okay.
they were so
So,
close.
yeah.
It's scary how close they get sometimes.
Oh, wait. Oh, 10 point favor. They won by 11. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what that means. I
it's
thought
just
you were talking. because I know there's gambling speak where it's like we
Yeah.
give them a -2 or,
Yes, and
but
so they were -10. They were -10 or -10.5, which means they were a 10-point favorite to win.
like literally football points. That's what's throwing me
Yes,
off. I thought
football
it was like
points. Yes, football
I thought it was
points.
more like percentage of
No,
chance
no, the
or
score. It's
something.
actual score in that part. There's other ways to
Interesting.
gamble and bet.
Okay.
Not that I do it. I'm aware of it because nowadays it's
Yeah,
such a
tell me
part of
more.
it's all part of sports now. You can't get away from it. It's
Yeah.
if I look at a line on a game about anything that's coming up, of course they have the sports betting line attached to it. You just can't help
Interesting.
but see it. It's everywhere, which
Sure,
I,
sure.
I don't like it. I think it's going to be a detriment. It is a detriment to the game. Anyway, pretty
Yeah.
cool. I was proud of Notre Dame. So they made it interesting. They made it interesting. As they say, you can probably edit this out, but the old saying in sports is they came back and made Ohio State, as they say, that made them, let's just put this, their cheeks puckered, right? That's a nice way to say it. They tightened
Yeah,
them up
sure.
some, right?
Yeah, made them sweat a little bit for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the nice way to say it.
That's
There's something about having your sphincter tighten is another way to say
right.
it. But
No,
so that
yeah, I definitely get that.
yeah, that was good to see, right? And that made it more interesting. I was afraid it was going to be a real snoozer, but they did make it interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we didn't keep you up too late last night to try to do a live recording of that. It's we can find better games to do that with. But
Yeah, yep. All right, so that's
um,
good.
well,
That's all
thanks
I
for the
got on
recap
that.
there. Yeah,
Yep.
and I just want to take a verbal note. I think it'd be really fun to do a sports betting episode one day where we. It sounds like you got some opinions about it, so I think that'd be fun to talk about. Once we're in the off season, it's a little bit slow, like you said.
All
Once
right.
all the football and maybe basketball has died down. Um, By the way, hey, there's usually ads in these podcasts, so I'll do a little ad right now to say if you because it will get a little quiet later this year, like you said, we're counting down the days for football to start back. If you guys have ideas of topics that we should cover, I'll even do a little research and contribute, Dad, and we can try to find out some things that have been some questions that have been on y'all's minds for years that you've never had answered
Absolutely.
or
Yeah, that'd be a
just
blast. Yeah, on
and
any
and
sport, any sport.
yeah, maybe interesting. Yeah, just interesting things to delve into. I know we've talked about doing a deep dive on the Savannah Bananas and their story, which sounds really interesting. So,
It is amazing
okay.
stuff.
Well, there's a little PSA, mid-episode PSA for you guys. Yeah, send us your thoughts, and we haven't had any mailbag questions for a few weeks either. So send us some mailbag questions for next week, and I've
Yeah,
got a
what
couple for us at the end of today's episode. But
say wake up out there. Come on.
yeah, we're getting a steady 15 to 20 listeners an episode at the moment. So thank you, everybody. That's great. I honestly think that's so fun. It's like we're getting together with just a handful of our close friends every week, which I think is a blast. So
Absolutely. Because one day
and
when they
and if
replay this, we're going to have hundreds of thousands. You know, they're going to find it the best of
hopefully, yeah,
one day.
exactly. And I honestly, I hope some of you guys are getting out of it what I've been getting out of this, which is the ability to like when I've seen, like I said before, a Georgia hat or an Alabama t-shirt or whatever, I've been able to just strike up conversations with random people. And it's been like I've been learning a new language and it's so fun to have like feels like I have a new superpower a little bit, which is cool. So without
That
doing
is
any of the
cool.
work, because you're doing it all for me, Dad. So thank you.
Right.
All right.
Well, I'm giving you just enough to be dangerous.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, let's move to
Well, okay.
the big boy football now.
Yeah, yeah. You said that off the podcast earlier that there were some really good NFL games over the
Oh
weekend,
my
right?
gosh. Yes. I mean, I
All
thankfully
right.
I re what?
Oh no, no. I'm just saying. All
Oh,
right. Sounds
all
like
right,
you're
all
you're
right.
itching to
So
jump into
listen,
this.
on Saturday, I didn't have time to come straight and watch the Kansas City Chiefs and Texans. That's who we'll start with. They were playing in Kansas City. First of all, I find it fascinating to watch these games. They're almost all outdoors this time of year, and these teams have been perennial playoff teams. So you're going to be freezing. I mean, crazy cold and freezing in Kansas City. You're going to be freezing in Philadelphia. Then you're gonna really be freezing with Buffalo Bills. So three of the four games was just like snow, ice,
Oh,
minus this on windshield. I mean, the fans are nuts. They're all out there and they're just packing
yeah.
in tight.
You see shirtless ones
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
there's one. There's that one last year. There's been a serious story about that, about the frostbite that happened to some of them. And
Really?
yeah, last year
Oh
you have to go back.
no.
And some of them lost parts of digits and this and that. It's
Oh,
crazy. But this year
I
wasn't quite
mean,
as
yeah.
bad, but it still looked bad. All right, so we're gonna start with Kansas City. So thankfully, I was able to record that game. It was Saturday. We had things going on. I don't even know. We always had plenty going on. I came
Wait,
home.
which
And
game? What'd you say?
it was the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston
Oh
Texans.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so I recorded it. So I was able to speed watch it, within a total of an hour
Okay.
and 20, 25 minutes. I just bam, bam, bam,
Fun.
forward every time there's a timeout, anything, commercials. So I had
Yeah.
fun watching that. That was probably one of the it was fun game to watch because there's a couple plays that were insane. But the funniest part, now this is the funny part, because this is what you got to be prepared for. These hearing anybody that's not so like one guy I saw say it's so nice. He's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. He says it's so cool to be hated. He said for so many decades, I would say they'd go, "You're a Kansas City Chief fan. We're sure sorry about that." In other words, they were so bad for so long. He says it's great to be hated now. But so this gave the anti Chiefs so much material to work with because there were two calls of roughing the passer or personal fouls against the Texans on Patrick Mahomes. It just,
Okay.
if you don't know, everybody, that's the thing. Everybody says you got to beat the Chiefs and the refs, right? The refs, there's
Yeah.
memes everywhere,
Right.
right? About how the refs are in their pocket and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw one. I saw a meme saying that they've already called a roughing on the passer for next week against the
yeah,
Bills.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Things like that. There's great ones out there. It's so entertaining, so hilarious. But
yeah.
believe me, they got two gifts. Kansas City really did. I mean, I don't have a dog in that fight, and I think I really am, except for BYU and NC State. I'm really very. I'm not non-biased at all. I just watch
Yeah.
it for what it is, and I'm telling you, they got away with they shouldn't have called those two calls. So it helped the Chiefs. But
Dang.
I had to say, but Mahomes made this one play. He is in the grass, meaning the defenders were like from behind, had his leg and one side of his body. He is going down and he's able to throw the ball. I mean, he is parallel to the ground, going down, throws the
Wow.
ball and finds Travis Kelce in the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, it just shouldn't happen.
Whoa.
That's what they call the Mahomes magic. You want to set off somebody who hates Kansas City? Just talk about the Mahomes magic. And oh my gosh, they'll rant
Okay.
and rave and they'll turn red and their veins will pop out. But it's true. He is a magician sometimes. So, so the Chiefs won 23-14, as it turned out by 11 points. But it really was a close game. And honestly, a couple of those calls really helped the Chiefs. And he had to make a couple of great plays, but it was cold and icy and snowy, and just
Yeah.
as the Chiefs said, just the perfect weather for them, the way they like to play. And the Texans obviously come from Houston, where it's basically hot and
Right.
muggy all the time. All right, so that's it. Now
Right.
remember, I'm
So
going to talk. Keep it on, guys. Go ahead.
yeah, well, before you jump to the next one,
Yeah.
how do since we are talking about these winter football games that are going on right now, are you just moving around enough on the field that that crazy cold doesn't bother you that much, or is there equipment like gloves and long sleeve?
Yes.
I don't like
They got
how are
heaters.
the
No,
players
they've
staying
got
warm, I
heat.
guess
They got
is
big
what I'm saying.
heaters. They got big heaters. They got benches that are heated. They've got, and then they've got all sorts of trick. There's a variety. You have to go and listen. But there's this gel or there's different. They used to put Vaseline, but they put some sort of coating on their skin, all under their clothes, and then they
Whoa.
have these layers of clothing. Yeah, and then there's the
It's like
tough guys who go out there in their short sleeve jerseys and they're just bad. I don't know. They're just bad dudes. Is all I got to say. I don't know how they do it.
well, that's funny. Macy and I were in a restaurant at some point over the weekend and saw 5 seconds of a game, whatever. It might have been the Kansas City one even, but I remember seeing a shot of somebody getting their pant leg cut off like mid game, like
Yeah.
as if they were really hot and just needed to shed any sort of
No,
fabric at all.
no,
But it
they were
looked
just
crazy because you could see like how cold it was. Like their breath was
yeah,
very
no,
smoky or whatever.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they had to slit. There was they had to put something under his knee on his knee, a little heater pad thing on his knee because he injured his knee, so he slit his pants and got that wrap
Oh,
up under it and all that stuff. Anyway, they're crazy.
okay, okay.
But yes, yes. So it's
Well,
I mean respect to the fans, to the players. It's and they have those big old hooded things they put on as soon as they come off the field. They put those big
okay.
hooded, and then the quarterbacks always have. You'll see they got a pouch up front around their waist up front, and in between while they're
I'll stick their
calling
hands in.
yeah, calling the plays. They got heater in there. They got little hot things in there, and they want try to keep their hands. But what does we know what changes the most, and this I'll get to one of the games where it really impacted, especially when it's wet and cold and snowy and icy. The football,
Yeah.
no matter what they try to do to keep them warm, towards the end of the game, particularly, they become frozen rock. They're almost like rocks. They're so
Oh
hard and they
man.
got wet and they're frozen and they're so hard to catch and they're slick and you
Is
got no feel from them.
so here's a noob question for you. Is there only one football per
No,
game?
no,
Like,
no, no.
can they not swap out heated
Yeah,
balls or something?
they swap out balls, but there's just some during a series. A lot of times, while they're just going up and down, that same ball stays in play. Like if they're starting and they haven't changed over
Oh,
or gone to
yeah,
the
yeah,
next
yeah.
series. But a lot of times and I don't know your exact rules on that. Now, there's plenty of balls, but they wipe them, but they don't like have them weighted in some warm heater thing. They're they keep rotating a set of balls. I think they all start with the
Okay.
same amount in the game. So by the end, it can get rock hard and cold and slick. I mean,
Oh,
so it
that
matters. It
sounds
matters.
awful to play with.
So that's the Chiefs. So we're staying in the American football AFC, right? So right now you got to remember as of this weekend, there were only four. There were four teams left, right? Excuse me, eight
Okay.
teams left.
From
4 games left. There were 8 teams left and 4 games. So that's what we
okay.
started the weekend. Started the weekend with that. So we know we got Kansas City going on to the AFC Championship game this coming weekend. The other
Okay.
AFC game, which was I've got it as the absolute drop down best game of the weekend, but the Eagles Rams. I'll talk about them. They were like barely right below that. That's how great it was.
Okay.
All of them were amazing, to be honest with you. So the Buffalo Bills, were playing at home because they were the higher seed. They earned that right. And the Baltimore Ravens came to them. So the Ravens are used to playing in terrible cold weather and snow, and
Yeah.
so are the Bills. So that wasn't a real difference for them, right? Baltimore might play in a little bit more wet, cold, where the Bills playing a lot of heavy snow. If the
Oh,
dead of winter this time. But
okay.
anyway, for me, it was about the best game, about the craziest finish. I can't go in all the details because we're already going too long. But here, real quick, the Bills, and I'm pulling for the Bills. I gotta say, I'm pulling for Josh Allen. You ought to look at his history. Coming out of high school, by the way,
Yeah.
he didn't have one offer to go to
Oh
any
yeah, yeah.
college. Yeah,
He's the one we talked about, and
yeah,
yeah, he didn't have any offers, and then
yes.
he ended up going to Wyoming of all schools,
Wyoming's
right?
the only one that ended up giving him a try. So I love
Okay.
his
And
story is truly amazing.
did he like knock it out of the park at Wyoming,
Yes,
or
over 4 years he did. Yeah,
because I've never heard of Wyoming
eventually.
being like an excellent college
Well,
football team.
they were pretty good while he was there, but they can't. But one guy can't do it all, right? In football, it's a little
Right.
different. Yeah.
But as
So
a
anyway,
quarterback, he performed great, and now he's in the
and then he's
NFL
been
and doing great.
great. He's been great in the NFL. He's gotten better and better, but he hasn't won a
Okay.
Super Bowl. And I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him win one. But anyway, so the Ravens Bills. It was a bar fight, brawl, alley brawl fight, crazy weather, beat each other up. Not they held on to the ball pretty darn well. Not a ton of turnovers, but had some turnovers.
Uh,
It was just, I mean, it looked like if you watched it, you would say afterwards, if you stripped them down to the gym shorts, they would have to all be black and blue, frozen to death, beat up, bloodied. I mean, it was that kind of game. I'm telling you.
wow.
And it went down to the wire. The Bills were leading, the Ravens were behind 20 to they were behind, let's see, at that time, so it ended up 25. So they were behind 19 to 27. So they needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion down the last drive of the game. So the whole game was great, right? So I don't want to short sell the whole game, but the last drive of the game, it's snowing, it's wild, it's just freezing cold, and the Ravens, they were able to move the ball all the way downfield, and they're they're
Eh,
just
eh,
they're just running
remind
everywhere.
me,
Yeah,
remind me what the score is at this point. Did you say it's
it's
tied up?
27. It's 27-19,
Okay,
right?
so the Ravens are about to maybe tie it up.
Yes, they're trying
Uh,
to, but it seems
Okay.
almost impossible because the weather's so bad. It was, it just. Hang on, Sal. I was just getting something up. I could see if I could get a number for you, but anyway,
Uh,
it was just crazy. Oh, here you go. Here you go. I wanted to see one thing on this, and it was so much fun. I mean, now this is a game you really did not want to see anybody lose. Let me
they
see
were
here.
just both so fun and great.
Yeah, yeah. So and Lamar Jackson, of course, the quarterback of the Ravens, and he runs and has great running. Anyway, so he makes a play where he's running for his life and somehow extends the play. They're chasing him everywhere in the backfield, and he throws a beautiful pass. And the receiver, he throws it low, and the receiver slides like he's sliding into second base in baseball.
Oh,
He slides and catches it, and it's a touchdown. Right. So it's now 27 Bills and 25 Ravens. So they've got to make a 2-point. They can't kick an extra point,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
2-point
yeah.
conversion. Well, they've got one of the greatest all-time tight ends, Mark Andrews. And he had already he had some great plays, but he had already missed a catch that he always makes. And I think he even fumbled. He fumbled. He had a kind of a rough game for him. Well, they call the best play, and Mark Andrews, the tight end, is heading to the corner end zone. I mean, and their quarterback, he's right there. Lamar Jackson's just doesn't look like he's more than 10 or 12 yards from him, and throws a nice kind of easy pass. But this is what I was telling you about the football. He threw it to him, and Marcus Andrews is sliding down the corner. He's inbounds perfect. He's in the end zone, and you see his big hands, and you just know he's getting ready to catch it, and they're going to tie the game, right, and go in overtime.
Yeah.
And somehow it hits his hands. I mean, this man never misses anything that hits his hands. Hits his
Uh,
hands, and it just squirts out, and he misses,
oh,
and they lose on that last second.
oh,
And if you see the ball, you can tell how dark and slick, and it just looks so rock. It was
yeah.
just like catching a greased pig, man. It just so anyway, that was the finish. So
Wow.
what a crazy finish that game had. And you talk about you hate to see a team lose. That was one of those games where it's just hard to see one of them lose. That's how
Yeah.
great of a game it was. And
You know I don't get super emotionally invested in sports, but I just imagining that my heart feels broken just hearing that. That's crazy.
And he's an all-pro. This guy's been around for years. He was injured for a while. He came back this year, and
Yeah,
yeah, he's like one of my favorites for their team. And as the
man.
heading underneath the little ESPN video that shows it, clip says Mark Andrews' brutal drop dooms Ravens after clutch TD. Now, how would you
Yeah,
like that title? I mean, listen to that title. That's
yeah.
brutal.
That
Mark
you're the
Andrews' brutal drop dooms Ravens after
yeah.
clutch TD.
All his fault. Yep, he
Oh,
earned it.
that's
Yeah,
painful.
that's sad.
Anyway,
Oh,
but the team was class. Of course, they all backed him up. So that's not his fault. We shouldn't have been in that position. Da 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 da. All right,
yeah, yeah.
I gotta move on because we're going to run out of time. I gotta go to
Yeah,
bed
I've
tonight.
I've got a few questions for you
Okay,
too. So,
real quick,
what? Yeah.
just the other huge one, and we aren't going to take no details. The huge one. The team who's the team that I've been loving all year and saying they
Oh,
might be their
yeah.
year. The
Detroit
Lions.
Lions. Yeah,
Yes.
daggone
And
it.
as you saw, the Cinderella Washington Commanders smoked them 45-31. The Lions couldn't play defense.
Yeah.
Now, I've told you before in the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've had some bad injuries on their defensive end, and it really caught up. But
Oh,
the rookie for the Commanders is like he's his own magician. He is. I mean, the guy could pull some magic all the way to win a Super Bowl. But that's a
yeah.
shock, and it's great for the Commanders, franchise. I'm really excited for them. But so now we're in the NFC. So they won, and then the other game that was the second best game was the Eagles versus the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
And you would think the Rams could not play in terrible weather, but the Eagles weather. The first half, wasn't too bad. Then all of a sudden, towards the end of the first half, it started sleeting and then snowing and then sleeting and then snowing the rest of the game.
Oh
It was great.
man.
They were having to take those little mini snow blowers and blow off the lines so you could see the lines on the
No
field.
way.
That's what it, oh, it was, and the guys were making snow angels after they made touchdowns and things. I mean, grown men act like little kids in the snow, but it looked brutal. But just so you know, it was an awesome game. And Eagles won 28-22, but the
Mm,
Rams, they were making a play making a run at the very end. And I'm trying to remember, I saw too much football this weekend. I'm trying to remember what play happened, but they could have easily scored and possibly won the game. But somebody missed a catch or had an intercept. I can't remember right at the end, but
okay.
it was that great of a finish too. So really 3 of the 4 were unbelievable finishes. And
That's
the
fun.
Commanders was just an amazing game to see poor Detroit go down in flames. Well, there's 4 teams left, so we got 2 games next weekend: the Chiefs versus the Bills. The Chiefs they were number 1 seed, so the Bills have to go to Kansas City and play.
Okay.
So they're going to freeze their
Well,
honeys off, but they're used to it.
so Chiefs and Bills, and
Yep,
then Eagles
and
versus Bill,
Commanders.
or sorry, Commanders. That's what I meant.
Yep. So the Commanders have to go to the Eagles, which is a very short drive for them. Go from
Oh
Baltimore
yeah,
up to Philly. But
that's
so
true.
those are your 2 games. So real quick, I'm gonna let you and I all have to make us pick our team. So who you picking between the Chiefs and the Bills?
Oh man. Well, I I just I can't even make a good educated
Yeah.
guess
Well,
because
they're
I don't.
both really great teams, and they both played
Yeah.
great in cold weather.
All
So,
right.
but
Based.
they are at Kansas City, and Mahomes doesn't seem to lose.
Yeah, based on what you're saying with Mahomes Magic against a rookie Josh Allen out of the
Well, he's not
Buffalo
a
Bills.
rookie. He's not a rookie.
Oh,
No, Josh
okay.
Allen's
Oh,
been around
I'm mixing
7
him
years.
up with, yeah,
The
Jaden Williams
Commanders.
is the
Yeah, yeah,
rookie on
Jalen. Yeah,
Commanders.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, dang. I mean, I don't know, but uh, it just seems like the Chiefs do have some sort of, they got something in their water. They got something magic going for them.
I got to tell
I
you one
think
thing
they're
before
gonna.
you pick. I got to tell you one thing.
Okay.
They are going for a trifecta, 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's never been done.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it had never been done.
3 in a row have never been done.
Well, now we gotta go for them. I don't know why people are. Yeah, you gotta see history be made.
All right, so I'm picking the Bills to
I,
beat them. I think the Bills are going to beat them.
really?
Yeah, I
Okay,
do.
I think they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl. I'm going with Kansas
All
City.
right, all right. Other game: Commanders versus Eagles.
Okay, Commanders. Jaden Williams is gonna take them all the way to the
All
Super
right,
Bowl.
so I'll pick the Eagles because I just don't think we can do it again.
Wait, so Eagles? That's Jalen Hurts with the tush push that we talked about a few
Yes,
episodes ago,
yes,
right?
yes.
They actually do sound pretty hard to beat based on what you've told me.
And they're at home, and they've got a great running
Mm,
game. So, but the Commanders, golly, their defense is better than you would think, and I just don't think they're going to be able to. They're not playing indoors. I don't think they're going to be able to put 45 points up. So they're going to be hard pressed to put 28 points up. Maybe I don't
mm,
know. It's going to be fun. I'm kind of pulling for the Commanders, but I think the Eagles are going to win anyway. So that's
cool.
it. So then after that we got the Super Bowl.
Amazing.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Well, and
so you got to
then
pay
we can make
attention a little this weekend. Pay attention. Got a
yes.
couple of games. Yep, yep.
Well, and on the Instagram, I've been trying to let people know who to mourn or commiserate with if they know. So this week, if you know any Detroit fans,
Yes, yeah,
if you know any, did you say LA lost?
yeah. Rams.
Yeah, if you know any LA fans, I do know a few of those. Yeah. Who else do we need to
You
commiserate
got the
with?
Ravens and the Texans.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know the people from Houston.
Yeah, they're going to feel really
Um,
ripped off. So you better give them lots of love.
yeah, because they had the two roughing the passers on the
Yes,
Chiefs. You said, yeah.
yes.
Well, so there you go. So look out for your loved ones if you know any fans. There might be some depressed fans around you this week. So, um,
All right, you
well,
got a couple
can I?
questions.
Yeah, I don't have trivia for you this week, but since I do have a few of my own mailbag questions for
All right,
you. So one was just this episode. You were talking about sliding I can't remember what team you said now, but somebody slid. Oh, it was
still,
Baltimore
yeah, it was.
Ravens.
Yes,
and they threw the quarterback threw the pass, and you said the guy slid and caught as he was sliding, like
Yes,
he was sliding a
like
baseball.
he was
But I
sliding
thought,
down. Yeah.
but I thought if your knee was down, it was incomplete, like you
No,
were already
no,
down.
no, not as long as you catch. You can be laying on your back and catch a ball as long as the ball hasn't hit the ground. But it just
Okay.
means, and if a defender touches you, you're down right there, right? So
Okay.
the
Okay.
defender has to touch you. If you in the pros, if you are, I think they even do it in college now. But if you catch a ball, fall down flat on your face, but the ball, it's a catch and the ball hadn't hit the ground, and nobody touches, you can get up and keep running until somebody tackles you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I had
when I
no
say
idea.
sliding, he's already in the end zone, right? He's in the end zone. So
Hmm.
all he has to do, he can be on his knees, he can be up in the air, he can be on his butt. It doesn't matter. And if he catches it and it doesn't touch the ground and he has possession, then it's a touchdown.
Crazy. Okay.
And he
Well, all
was
right. Well,
making
that's good
that
to know.
ice and snow. He was cutting across, and he saw the ball was going to be low, so he kind of just slid into the catch. The
Gotcha.
ball was
Gotcha.
above the ground, but he slid and he was down low with it and was able to catch it. It was just a really cool catch.
The yes, the catcher was adapting to the pitch, or not the pitch, the throw from the
Yeah,
quarterback,
well, now you
the
got my
pass, the
analogy going.
pass.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, next one, and this can be the last question for the night, actually.
Okay.
I went to a BYU basketball game last week, and I noticed, I can't remember who they were playing against, but I noticed the opposing team at one point, they were starting, I want to call it a drive since we've been talking football, but they were on their end of the court and they had the ball, so they were
The
starting
possession.
to,
So they had a possession. Yep. They were offense. They had the
yeah.
ball. Yep. They had the ball.
Okay, so the other team's offense, yep, had the
Yep.
ball. And so they started down the court, but so BYU was already, everybody was in their defensive positions already on the BYU side of the court, and the other player, like, he like rolled the ball slowly all the way down to half court and just walked next to the rolling ball
Yeah.
and then picked it up like
Okay.
pretty
So
close to the BYU's defense. So why did he roll the ball? And yeah, what's
try
going on there?
the why is they're trying to preserve time. The one that's so you got a guy who throws it inbounds, right? You worked on that when we played basketball. You throw it inbounds. Well, that's the guy that's
Yeah.
actually rolling it. So and the one that's receiving it is uh is he can't as long as he doesn't touch it, the clock doesn't start. So he hasn't picked it up yet and started the possession.
Oh,
So
oh, and then there's the shot clock. So you're saying the shot clock would
no,
have
I'm talking about
started?
it's normally it's not no, it's not a shot clock. This is going to be the game clock. So the time
Oh,
so it must have been right before half, probably is when that was.
okay.
Or right towards the very end of the game, one of the two. He's trying now a team if it's a really close game, BYU's defense is going to come up and play tight on them because they're not going to let them do that, right?
Uh-huh.
But apparently they didn't really care. I don't know what the circumstance
They
was.
they were up they were up ahead by a
Right, right.
really big
They weren't
margin.
gonna
So
they aren't gonna press them, right? But if it's a close game, you're gonna have full court press, full court defense. So they
okay.
wouldn't allow them to do that little roll maneuver. But that's
Uh-huh.
what happens. So he kind of rolls it, and the guy receiving it doesn't touch it. And the clock will start when he grabs it and picks it up. The game
Okay.
clock. The game clock.
That makes sense. I think it probably was right before halftime. So
Yeah.
it sounds like they were just trying to eke out the last seconds of the half. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Interesting. Well, cool. Well, thanks for letting me know.
Yep. You're
Well,
welcome.
I'm out of ammo for you
All right.
tonight.
Well,
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in another week, and we will see you after the semifinals. Is that what you call them? Super Bowl
it's
semifinals
the
this weekend.
conference championships. The
Okay,
AFC Conference Championship and the NFC Conference Championships. Yep.
okay, and then that will determine the teams going into the Super Bowl the week after. So
Exactly.
if you like watching football, we recommend tuning in this weekend.
All right, buddy.
All right, Dad. Thanks so much.
See you, Coop. Bye bye.
Bye.
Sports sense.